gentlemen, this is the main event.
Back in line, you dog! On your feet! Get them going!
Whoops. Hi, everybody. It's me. It's Mike. Am I locking up already? I barely even started. Is it going to be one of those days? I don't know. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever the case may be. Yes, I am late. Yes, I am not being enthusiastic because I am trying to get all of this done before I have to go pick up my son from school and trying to squeeze this in because being late, sometimes you just got to make do with the time you've got. All right, let's go. I didn't even have time to make a thumbnail today. So we're doing Job 15 today. And what else are we talking about? Whatever you want to talk about. Hey, listening on my drive to Costco. I got to get to Costco. I need some stuff. What's up, March Hare? What's up, Henry Thrune? You know, the topic of yesterday, the the telepath tapes. I watched 3 of the episodes yesterday. Oh, it's so cold in here. Oh, you know what? Because I was just outside in the sun and it was like so nice and warm and toasty. And now I come inside and I got goosebumps. He's cold. He's cold. It's appreciated, Mike. Thanks for sharing your time with us in the Word. Word up, Dark Admiral. Word up. What's up, Tina's in the house. So, the telepath tapes. I'm gonna watch the whole series. But it's pretty astonishing. Again, the skeptical option. It's all a psyop. And all of these people just happen to be Oscar-worthy actors from around the world that this person just happened to stumble upon, who also happen to have. Well, I guess the autistic people would also have to be Oscar-worthy, but I couldn't finish the video, Mike. I kept falling asleep, but I plan on finishing. I find that really interesting, especially since I used to care for my cousin's autistic son. Hey, Amy's here too. Yeah, so it's the non-verbal or mostly non-verbal autistic people who the autistics, they call them spellers, because like I said, they use letter boards or typewriters, showing my age, keyboards, iPads, whatever, something to spell out using, their gross motor skills, which is like touching. Most of them are like that. Some of them are semi-verbal, like this one guy was, he could answer short word things, but he's not going to sit there and have a conversation with you. So it's the semi-verbal and the spellers. They say they can all talk to each other telepathically. They go to a place called, what do they call it? The mountain, the hill, some astral plane location. I know it sounds crazy. I'm fine with it sounding crazy. This is just, I'm reporting what it's saying. And I said, the skeptic, you could say it's all a hoax. You can say it's all a psyop, and they just happen to find way better actors than most Hollywood studios can find to pull this all off. And if not, if it is true, then these people talk to each other on a heavenly plane or a extra dimensional plane, however you want to phrase it. They talk to each other. They're best friends with each other. They teach each other. They pray with each other. They're all very, very religious. They all very, very much believe in God. I mean, they're on another plane of existence. So, and it's all very interesting. And the more I listen to it, the more I want to listen to more of it. So, yeah, it was funny. I mentioned this on the show last night, but in one of the episodes, the cameraman who's been following the reporter chick, or I don't know if she's a reporter, the researcher girl who's been following her around, he's a materialist atheist. And watching over this stuff and watching all this stuff happen and looking for, cheating over I don't know how long it took, months probably, and various different autistic people, children and adults, who they've tested, trying to go through the most scientific, rigorous testing possible to make sure there's no possible cheating allowed in any of this stuff. She asked him what he thought about all this after, I don't know, few months, I guess. And he's like, do I have to believe in God now? Because he can no longer deny that there is more than materialism, because he's seen it, he's watched it, he's tried to challenge everything. And again, are these the world's greatest actors, simultaneously the world's greatest magicians, who can pull the wool over people who are scrutinizingly trying to disprove them or disallow them from making these things happen that they say they're making, that they say are happening. I mean, there was this one kid who, like, his own brother didn't believe. Well, nobody in their family, no one is going to believe this is possible until you experience it yourself, right? And so the mother discovered, she's the one that this is a sad story. So this one mother, her son's 20 years old, and he's always been, like, he can't sit still. He's a screamer, he's a runner, he's a mover, he's a shaker, he's just always moving, always everything. And she was like, just in sitting one night, just done, like about to give up, right? Like, just so sad and so despondent about the state of her son. And when you reach a certain age and you've been dealing, I've a 15-year-old special needs kid, so I kind of can relate to this. It's like, God, can't you just heal him and make him, let his development blossom? But she's at this stage where she's got a 20-year-old, or actually it's probably earlier than, like, a teenager. She's just super despondent, and he's reading her mind, right? Because that's the thing, is that they're telepaths. And he comes out and sits next to her and just puts his hand on her and looks her in the eye. None of these things he's ever done before. And he says, I love you. Like the first time in her entire life, she's at the edge of the cliff, and he musters enough, because, like, that's one of the things they explain. It's like, when you've got these tics and these things and everything, you can sit still, right? But it's like, it takes an enormous amount of effort to sit still. Like for us, it would be like trying to bench 150 pounds, or not for me, but for a girl, For me, it'd be like trying to bench, 200 pounds. I can bench 200 pounds. I'm not saying I can't. I'm just saying it takes enormous effort to, to do that. And I can do it, but it's not something I want to be doing 24 hours a day. My natural state is to not be benching 200 pounds. But so for one of these people, they can sit still, but the effort is extraordinary. So he made that effort in that time to control his body so that he could comfort his mother, because he could read her mind that she was going to the end. She was on the precipice, and it was like, let's see. Sorry, I've been ignoring you because I'm very much into this series now. I really want to. I used to care for my cousin's autistic son. He was severely autistic. He could speak, but limited. He said yes quite a bit. Michael couldn't hold a conversation with anyone. A cousin had a client. She was a guardian ad litem for him. He's died, and my cousin was obviously upset about it. That day, Michael walked into her room and out of the blue and said, "Hi, Mr. Eastman." That was the client's name. I wonder now if Michael was just reading my cousin's mind in his mother's mind. By the way, Michael was at normal development, but then he received his vaccinations. Yeah, that's what. So the other dude, not what's his name, the one that did the initial video that I showed you guys, he's like, I checked the backgrounds of all of these people, and they all got autism from the vaccinations. Oh wow, the I love you. That's amazing, right? Mike's natural state is to cook meat and draw, not bench. What man's chief end in this world? What's man's chief end in this world? To know the Lord and to help others to know the Lord, so that we may all be family in the resurrection. So yeah, that's, and then like the one that one was just really cool. And then like oh yeah, she like started communicating with her son through telepathy, like he could read her mind and then answer her questions. And then her brother, who I don't want to say despised because that's the wrong word, but he was, when you're in a family and you have a special needs kid who basically gets all the attention because they're special needs. So I feel so bad for Micah because he didn't have a chance to really get the high attention that he should have needed. He's got super middle child syndrome because JoJo came along, and JoJo is special needs. So I understand this brother like didn't appreciate having a special needs brother. And Ian Carroll, thank you, Tina. And so his mother told his brother that his brother could read his mind. And his brother's like, BS. As you would be, right? As pretty much anybody would be. And then so like, hold on, I gotta crank this up a little bit because I am unfading. That should be fine. So he read his mind, and his brother was convinced. And then I think maybe he had another brother or something like that, or a friend, the brother was being interviewed, and this was his story. He's like, yeah, I didn't believe it. Of course I didn't believe it. It's crazy until it, it happened to me. And then I started, my girlfriend came over and I told her, and then she didn't believe it. And then I'm like, okay, think of something and keep it in your head. And then his brother just, I think it was the iPad kid. He just typed it out on the iPad what she was thinking, and she's like, ugh. So yeah, over and over again, this kind of stuff happens with these. I think we've been through like 2 or 3 examples so far in the episodes that we've been watching. No, it's got to be more than that. 3 or 4 or 5, something along those lines. All right, Henry, go shop, my friend. Go shop. Get yourself some of that chuck roast. Costco's got very good, very inexpensive chuck roast. You can make yourself some nice. The chuck roast is actually part of the same muscle as the prime rib. Oh, is it the prime rib? The ribeye. So the ribeye, and then the chuck eye, and then the chuck roast. It's all the same muscle. It's just in different proportions. Yeah, so I can't wait to listen to more of this stuff and delve deeper. My cousin, who is autistic, who sent me this, he sent me episode 9, and I'm like, I don't want to just watch them out of order, but I think there's something particular in episode 9 that he wants me to see, but I'm just gonna have to wait because I'm through episode 3. We'll see how many I can get watched today. Very, very intriguing, very interesting stuff. And I'm a skeptic, but I'm not a cynic. And I think that's a big vocabulary problem for a lot of people who call themselves skeptics, because they're not skeptics. They're cynics, right? You can look at something and say, okay, I need to be convinced of this thing. But if you look at something and you say, I cannot be convinced of this thing, sir, you are not a skeptic. You are a cynic. There is a big world of difference between the two. A skeptic wants to know the truth. A cynic wants something to not be true. There's a huge difference. And I would say I'm a skeptic. I want to know the truth. Whether it's what I've been raised to believe or it's something that most people won't believe, I want to know the truth. That's a skeptic. You people out there claiming the name of skepticism, but fully wanting to deny the truth and saying you can't be convinced. That's cynicism. And that is what you are. So I pray you all become true skeptics. I want everyone to be a skeptic. I don't want anybody to just be told a thing and then not test it. Jesus encouraged skepticism. He said, follow the Lord with your heart, your mind. Test all things, hold fast to what is true. Right? He didn't say, believe whatever somebody tells you. No, test all things, hold fast what is true. Yes, at the same time, he did say, blessed are those who have not seen me, but that's not to say they haven't tested all things. Because the majority of people will not have seen Jesus. And if they still believe, they believe through testing all things and holding fast, which is true. Yes, I don't want people to be gullible, right? I mean, even so much as I hate seeing this in people, and I know people in that I love dearly who are just like this. It's like I was born this way, not this way. I was born into this faith, and so therefore I am this faith, and therefore I will always be this faith. If you have never tested what you were raised to believe, that is not a valid argument. I want my kids to test the Bible because I know that the Bible holds fast, holds to what is true. Right? So I am perfectly, and I never stop my kids from watching debates and hearing both sides, because you want to hear both sides, and you want to stand with the side of the debate that holds water. Hopefully you can come to a debate with an open mind and be cognizant of when someone is making a better argument. Also, tricky, you want to be able to see when someone is making a better argument, but that does not mean he's right. There are debaters who are just better at debating and can therefore make a better argument than other people. That's why it's like, I don't consider myself a debater. I do like to debate, but I'm certainly not a world-class debater. I've never taken, I listen to somebody like Andrew Wilson go at debates, and he can just pick people apart. And it's like, I would be worried about debating him on Christianity. He's an Orthodox Christian, and it's like, I don't know that he has a kind of recall of things. Like I see certain people like both on the atheist and on the theist side of the argument who have just amazing recall of scripture, which I can't even recall my name, right? So I don't have the equipment to go out and be one of these guys, and it lends this. Look, if I go out there and I debate somebody like that Justin guy from Deconstruction Zone, he'd probably mop the floor with me, because he knows he like has amazing recall with the scriptures. So it would lend credence to his argument that he's using scripture, whereas I, as the theist, as the believer, would be like, well, I know the scripture says this, and then he'd be like, where, what verse, what chapter, what verse? And I'd be like, I know it says it. I've read the Bible a whole bunch of times, or I've listened to the Bible. I don't even know how many times I've listened to the Bible. So I know it says it. I've heard it say it. I can do this. I can do this with it's like I can correct pastors at my church with what I know the Bible says, but you try to freaking nail me down on chapter and verse, and I'm like, Google it. I don't know the chapter and verse. I know the Bible says this. I know when you just said something wrong about what the Bible says, because it sticks out to not 100% of the time, but it's very common. Like someone will be saying something about like how many people died in this example, and I'm like, that's not the right number. And then, but again, if you got a guy who's like rattling off, yeah, well, Peter 4:16 says blah 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 blah, and it's like, it gives them a level of credibility that I wouldn't have. So I'd be able to argue, but I would not look like I had the same aptitude and the same knowledge as this guy. Well, clearly I don't do the chapter and verse thing, because I don't. And I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? True, being contradictory isn't the same thing as being right. Right. Greetings, Wrangler. Tina says, I have a friend, like, his recall is amazing. He loves history and can remember names, dates, places, etc. He pulls the info up rather quickly too. I wish I could do that, but you guys see me do this all the time. I will forget like the most basic word. You know what I mean? And I'll sit there and go like, what the heck is that word? What is that word? What do you think I'm going to be like if I'm trying to remember chapter and verse? God did not build my brain in such a way to memorize every chapter and verse. And you know what? A lot of these guys probably do is they memorize the chapters and the verses of the scriptures that make their argument, right? Now, a guy like Sam Shamoon, you ever watch him? I'm not going to say I'm a fan of Sam Shamoon, but I really respect his recall. Holy cow. That it doesn't matter what argument you're making with Sam, he can go all over the Bible and he'll know where you're going with your argument and cut you off at the pass. And be like, oh, you're going to bring up 1 John 3:18, aren't you? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, I admire the heck out of that. It is frustrating. It's so frustrating. It drives me nuts. And I'll be point blank. It makes me look stupid. I know when I can't remember a simple word, it just makes me look like an idiot. So that's fine. I'll look like an idiot for God, but it lowers my credibility. And for that reason, I think I would look really stupid in a debate at certain times, unless God just like came down on me and spoke through me. That'd be cool. But now I think about it, I'd love for Mike to have my friend on a stream with him. My friend can go on for hours on comic book lore. I'm not an encyclopedia of comic book lore either. I had periods in my life where I was all about the comics. And then my dad made me stop reading comics because I failed advanced placement English. I'm sorry, but I just didn't want to read that book. What was it? What book was that? See, I can't recall the book. It was like this big. Okay, I was in 7th grade, and it looked this thick to me, so it was probably like that thick. But it was a Charles Dickens book, and I can't remember it. I just didn't want to read the book, so I didn't read the book. So I failed AP English, and because I failed, my dad made me quit reading comics. Because the best thing to do to someone who doesn't want to read is make sure you get rid of the only thing he actually reads. Oh, I will point out that did not get me to read more books. Great Expectations. I think it was Great Expectations. Yeah, they expected way too much of me if they wanted me. First of all, don't stick me in AP English with all the nerds, all right? I'm not a nerd. I'm a cool kid. I don't need to be thrown in the AP class with all the nerds. And then give me a book like this thick. What? Get me out of here. Put me back with the dummies where I belong. They simply expected too much out of me. I went from 4th grade, my teacher, Mrs. Fama, wanting to hold me back because I couldn't spell. It wasn't because I couldn't spell. It's because I spent all my time drawing in class. And then she had a meeting with my parents, and I just remember this. She's like, all he does in class all day is draw, and he can't even spell sketch. I missed the C, sketch. There's a C in sketch. I missed the C in sketch. Oh no, I missed the T, sketch, on a spelling test. I guess this triggered her in some way that she just had to have a meeting with my parents and want to hold me back. So I went from 4th grade, them wanting to hold me back, to 7th grade, them putting me in AP English. You know what the difference was between 4th grade and 7th grade? In 3rd grade, I started reading comics. I'll tell you something. Comics use adult words. Like the comics in the 80s, the 70s, and the 80s, they use grown-up words. Words like annihilate, right? Generally, a 3rd grader is not going to know what annihilate looks or means, so they're going to go look it up in a dictionary. So between hold this kid back, all he does is draw in class all day, and put this kid in AP English, I was reading comic books. Comics books for some reason, got me to the place in school where they wanted to put me in AP English. And then because I didn't want to read Great Expectations, they kicked me out of AP English. Or they I failed AP English. And so my dad took away the thing that probably was giving me the better. My lexicon was probably growing. My vocabulary was probably expanded to the point where they should put me in AP English because I was reading comic books. And then he takes away the comic books. And at that point, I just didn't really care. Oh, buddy. Great Expectations, excellent book. I was good with spelling because I was terrified of the nuns that taught at the Catholic school. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Annihilate. And what's funny is my friend Ben, when I met him in 92, he was like 24, 25, 26, something like that. He would say annihilate. And I'm like, are you trying to say annihilate? He's like, is that how that's pronounced? I'm like, you learned that word from comic books, didn't you? He's like, yeah. Annihilate. Not a word you hear a lot in the world. Kind of a common word in comics, though. I was a sniper with a spitball. To be truthful, I hated being AP, academically gifted. Is what they called it, because of the kids I was in class with. Yeah. I mean, they're good kids. Edith Wong. She was super smart. And Tiffany. I'm trying to remember who all. Who was a nerdy little? Gosh, was Kent in my class? I think Kent was in my class too. Yeah, it was the nerd class, right? Not that you could. The girls are just going to do better, so the girls are going to be in there anyways. But like the boys in 7th grade who were in there, they were the nerds. Why are you going to put me in there? Get me out of that class. I could spell better than I could comprehend in reading. Did anyone carve a frog in elementary school? I never did that. I did dissect a fetal pig in high school, though. All right, I need to get to the Bible. The Bible. Let me chased a lot of squirrels today, didn't we? This computer's so bloody slow. I'm tired of it. Lord, bless me with a faster computer. What are we in? 15 today? I think we're in Job 15, right? I believe we're in Job. I don't know why it's acting up like that. It wasn't the nerds. It was the kids who were from more affluent families. They tended to be bullies. Well, I lived in Almaden Valley, which no one except for people from San Jose would have a grasp on what that meant. My dad bought a house that was outside of his economic comfort zone because he wanted us to be in the best schools. Almaden Valley is a more affluent. I'm not going to say it's like the highest end place on earth. There was parts of Almaden Valley that were like, I go to Leland because you down there in the wealthy part of San Jose might be better than the average bear, but us up in the hills on the country club. Leland was my rival high school. Do you remember the soldier who gave up his football career to go to the first Iraq War? And I think maybe he was killed over there. Do you guys remember that guy? He went to Leland. I can't remember his name, but I'm sure I have plenty of friends who were friends with him. Chuck says, we need to talk about your computer sometime. You're not the only one who said that. Yeah, we were bussed in from the rough side of town. We had bussies. That started. I don't remember when that started. I think it was roughly, it was when I was in school, I think. But yeah, some of my best friends were the Mexicans. And we didn't care, but they were, yeah, they lived like, I went to Ralph's house, Rafael. I rode my bike to his house one time. It was 12 miles away. I had my map, fold out my map. I had his address. I just rode my 10 speed, 12 miles to get to his house. But in San Jose is not that big, so 12 miles is far, especially for a kid and on a bike. But yeah, they got bussed in, and come to think of it, I'm not sure. I don't think he was an AP English. Ralph might have been. Ralph was a smart guy. Oh my gosh, I haven't even thought about him in years. First girl I ever kissed was his cousin's quinceañera. That was interesting. Well, I don't know why King James Bible is acting like really. Oh, there, right? Okay. It was like old school HTML stuff showing up. I can remember the first girl I ever kissed, but I couldn't tell you her name for the life of me. It was a very weird situation. And it was sloppy. Oh, sloppy! As to the corruption of man, it may be said that it was the only thing in the world that men most knew, and yet at the same time most were ignorant of. I know who you're talking about. He was drafted by the Cardinals. Yeah, I can't remember his name. Pat something. I think that's right. Pat something or other. Pat Tillman. There you go. I guarantee you I knew people who knew him. Because I think he was only like a couple years ahead of me. Pat Tillman. 70. Oh, he was behind me. 76. So I'm 71. So he would have been 5 years after me. So I probably knew someone whose little brothers and sisters went to theirs. I probably knew several people whose little brothers and sisters went to school with him. I'd go get my trumpet in the instrument room, turn around to walk out. The other students would push some poor dork in the room with me and not let us out. Aww. Yeah, but that's when school was cool. Now it's a bunch of they, thems that don't know what they're. Anyways, so that is not without reason that Tertullian affirms divorces in his time to be the constant fruit of matrimony. At that age, I was all right. Let's go. Then answered Eliphaz the Temanite and said, should a wise man utter vain knowledge and fill his belly with the east wind? Should he reason with unprofitable talk, or with speeches wherewith he can do no good? Yea, thou castest off fear, and restraineth prayer before God, for thy mouth uttereth thine iniquity, and thou chooseth the tongue of the crafty. Thine own mouth condemneth thee, and not I. Yea, thine own lips testify against thee. Art thou the first man that was born, or wast thou made before the hills? Hast thou heard the secret of God, and dost thou restrain wisdom to thyself? What knowest thou that we know not? What understandest thou which is not in us? He's really berating Job here. Because they don't understand Job is as righteous as they would hope to be, and yet because he's being tortured by Satan, they think God is punishing him for sin. So they're like, what knowest thou that we know not, and understandest thou which is not in us? With us are both the grey-headed and very aged men, much elder than thy father. Are the consolations of God small with thee? Is there any secret thing with thee? Come on, let us know. Tell us the truth. Why doth thine heart carry thee away? And what do thine eyes wink at? Winking at something. It's like, yeah. And I know. It's not a problem. I know it's a sin, but I'm going to do it anyway. That kind of mentality. That thou turnest thy spirit against God and lettest such words go out of thy mouth. What is man that he should be clean? And he which is born of a woman that he should be righteous. Behold, he putteth no trust in his saints. Yea, the heavens are not clean in his sight. How much more abominable is and filthy is man, which drinketh iniquity like water. I will show thee, hear me, and that which I have seen I will declare, which wise men have told from their fathers, and have not hid it. Unto whom alone the earth was given, and no stranger passed among them. The wicked man travaileth with pain all his days, and the number of years is hidden to the oppressor. The dreadful sound is in his ears. In prosperity the destroyer shall come upon him. He believeth not. That's funny. The dreadful sound is in prosperity. The destroyer shall come upon him. That's what happened to Job. And that's what he's saying, I guess. It's like because he is being secretly wicked. He believeth not that he shall return out of darkness, and he is waited for of the sword. He wandereth abroad for bread, saying, where is it? He knoweth that the day of darkness is ready at his hand. Trouble and anguish make him afraid. They shall prevail against him as a king ready to the battle. For he stretcheth out his hand against God, and strengtheneth himself against the Almighty. Strengtheneth. He runneth upon him, even on his neck, upon the thick bosses of his bucklers, because he covereth his face with fatness, and maketh collops of fat on his flanks. I don't know what that means, but it sounds gross. And he dwelleth in desolate cities, and in houses which no man inhabiteth, which are ready to become heaps. He shall not be rich, neither shall his substance continue, neither shall he prolong the perfection thereof upon the earth. He shall not depart out of darkness. The flames shall dry up his branches, and by the breath of his mouth shall he go away. Let not him that is deceived trust in vanity, for vanity shall be his recompense. And it shall be accomplished before his time, and his branch shall not be green. He shall shake off his unripe grape as the vine, and shall cast off his flower as the olive. For the congregation of hypocrites shall be desolate, and fire shall consume the tabernacles of bribery. They conceive mischief, and bring forth vanity, and their belly prepareth deceit. I like this point here. The congregation of hypocrites shall be desolate. I feel like there's almost nothing that God hates more than hypocrisy. I mean, I know he hates pride, and I know he hates all the sin and everything, but it's like the hypocrisy it's like a black eye. Well, on Christ, especially if you're a Christian, or if you're Jew at this time, if you were a follower of Yahweh, and you presented yourself as a follower of Yahweh, and you're trying to reach people with the word of Yahweh, and you want them to follow Yahweh, but then you're a hypocrite, you give Yahweh a black eye. It's like, if you live like this, and you're doing these things, but you say you love God, your actions and your words do not align. And so it can turn people. How many people on this earth have walked away from God, walked away from Christ, because of the Christians in their life, because of the, let me quote unquote, I'm not even going to quote unquote, because there's plenty of people who say they're Christians who very, very much don't act like Christians. But say you are a Christian, and yet you still have hypocrisy and sin, and the people who you're trying to bring to Christ see that in your life, and therefore they're like, well, obviously the fruits of your faith are garbage, right? It's like the argument I was making the other day, that the fruits of an ideology bear witness to the truth of the ideology or the principle or the idea, right? So like I was making the point with the free market. The fruits of the free market bear truth to the truth of the free market. The fruits of Christianity bear truth to the truth of Christianity. Bear fruit and therefore bear witness and therefore are evidence of. And so very much in the same vein, just general hypocrisy, not on a cultural level, just on a person-to-person level. How many people walk away from Christ because of the hypocrisy of Christians? The hard part, we're all hypocrites. Paul says it. That which I would, I do not. That which I would not, that I do. Paul point blank saying I'm a hypocrite. And my pastor always, not always, but he'll say this a couple times a year. Like he'll be talking to somebody and the person will be, well, I would go to church, but it's just full of hypocrites. And my pastor says, that's okay. We got room for more. We got room for one more. Because it doesn't matter. Christians, yes, we're all hypocrites, but that's because we hold ourselves to a higher standard. You, atheist, agnostic, Wiccan, moral relative, whatever you are, I guarantee you're a hypocrite too. You do that which you would not, and that which you would, that you do not do. Welcome to humankind. We are all hypocrites, and God hates that about us. And God wants to help us, encourage us to not be hypocrites. But good luck. Good luck, because if you say you're not a hypocrite, well, then you're also a liar. Marry Tiffany Molly. I was sure I was going to meet and marry Tiffany or Molly Ringwald. Okay, Dark Admiral. Showing your age. I'm sure there's a certain amount of pride wrapped up in hypocrisy, Mike. I'm sure in certain instances. I think there's a lot of laziness wrapped up in hypocrisy. I think there's a lot of attributes that lead people to being hypocrites. I'm sure pride is one of them. Laziness, ingratitude, just a whole lot of stuff. Well, Evan has a lot of work to do. Well, don't we all? What's up, Earthworm? Tina says, I'm always telling God, I know I'm a crappy Christian, but I'm trying, and I ask him for help. You scared me, Mike, pointing at us like that. I literally jumped. It was my jump scare episode. Welcome, Earthworm. That's something I wrestle with, and why sometimes I don't like claiming to be a Christian, because I feel like I set a horrible example. Coming out of the agnostic world, because of the view my secular upbringing had upon Christianity and Christians, I didn't want to call myself a Christian. I'm like, yeah, I accept Christ. Well, you're a Christian. I'm like, don't call me that. I don't remember how long it was, but I very, very well remember that in the beginning of my walk, I did not want to be called a Christian because of my view on Christianity. Oh, you know what I have right behind me? I mean, right in front of me? I have my 8th grade. You know, we were just talking about middle school. I have my middle school portrait. Can you see me? Can you see me? I'm right there in the middle of the screen. So funny. Wow, this is a long time. Castellero Middle School, class of 1985. Look how many kids were in my freaking middle school. This is 1 grade in my middle school. That's just the 8th grade class. And then you think about it, my high school, I think there was like freaking 4 times as many people. It's crazy how many kids there are in one class. It's covered in dust. I'm going to start sneezing now. All right. You can fall short of your ideals and not be a hypocrite, I think. Aim for the sun and land among the stars. Isn't that aim for the stars and land on the sun? God can get us back up, though. True. Gosh darn it. Now my hands feel a little gross. Where's my rubbing alcohol? Can't find. Never mind. I'll just end the stream early and go wash my hands. I worry I'm going to give people a wrong impression and steer them away. And you should worry about that. Sweet Betty, that's a lot of tots. Yeah, that is a large class, probably twice the size of mine. The size of the Christian homeschool that my son goes to is significantly smaller. I couldn't even tell you how many it is. Not a lot. But I like it. I don't know, man. I really loved. I'm super. I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I am a gregarious fellow, and I have been always. That's just my nature. And so I was a social butterfly, and so dubbed by Jenny Carlozzi, cheerleader in my high school, because I would hang out with everybody: the jocks, the skaters, the punks, the cheerleaders, the other cheerleaders. I was even friends with the nerds. I was very gregarious. I was everybody's friend. And so I had a good old time in high school and junior high. I wonder if that's what so scares me about like the modern school, because I mean, as an agnostic, I know what it was like going to school even in the 80s. And I wouldn't want to put my kids in the schools in the 80s, because as a Christian back then, I don't think I would have put my kid in school. And now, oh no, Costco had no eggs. Oh man. Henry, do you have a Middle Eastern market anywhere near you? I went to the Middle Eastern market next to Costco after Costco didn't have any eggs. They had a ton of eggs, and they weren't even that high priced. I hated high school. Most people were horrible. Well, maybe that was my advantage, because I was horrible too. And I wouldn't want my kids going into that situation, which is like, man, we were like right. Jojo goes to the high school, but he's in the special needs class, and so he's very well tended, and he's in this, the special needs class has its own sort of thing. I wonder if they have non-speakers in there. We could do some testing. You could usually spot the Christian kids when I was in school. Those are the kids I did not hang out with. They're Christian kids. And I think you're right. We had a short bout of the egg shortage, but everything seems to be back to normal now. Our eggs are still expensive. Interesting medical news. Arkansas now allows ivermectin to be sold over the counter. Oh, man. That is great. Because you know what? Everyone should take ivermectin. Everyone should take ivermectin as a not as a preventative per se, but it's an anti-parasitic. We all have parasites in us, and we all will do better without parasites in us. So everyone should take ivermectin once in a while, just to sort of. In fact, I'm going to take one right now while you watch. And no, I do not have a prescription. Yep. Oh no, Mike's a terrorist. But yeah, dude, parasites cause all kinds of stuff. I even saw like they'll cause stupid phone. I mean, the list of things that let's just do a real quick. You know, let me do it on X. X probably has a really good, thorough list. Even if it's not ivermectin, but if you want to do some sort of a natural parasitic cleanse, give me a thorough list of all the physical ailments caused by parasites in the human body. All right, let's go. This is going to probably take a while. Okay, this is particular to malaria. Let's not even deal with malaria, although that's ivermectin is used for malaria. So fever, headache, muscle aches, nausea, anemia, jaundice, organ failure, seizures, amoebiasis, abdominal pain, diarrhea, weight loss, liver abscess, fever, peritonitis, intestinal perforation, giardiasis, diarrhea, bloating, gas, nausea, vomiting, weight loss, dehydration, fatigue, malaise, toxoplasmosis, flu-like symptoms, swollen lymph nodes, vision problems, brain inflammation, seizures or neurological defects, congenital defects, cryptosporidosis, watery diarrhea, abdominal cramps, nausea, vomiting, fever, dehydration, leishmaniasis, cutaneous skin sores, ulcers and scarring, mucotenacious destruction of mucous membranes, visceral, Kala-Azar, fever, weight loss, enlarged spleen and liver, anemia, low platelet count, susceptibility to infections, trypanosomiasis, fever and chills, joint pain, swollen lymph nodes, sleep disturbances, neurological issues, Chagas disease, acute fever, swelling, infection, chronic heart damage. Okay, here's what worms can cause, which is another. This also is a dewormer. That's what they call it. Remember? Oh, that's a horse dewormer. Well, it's a human dewormer too. Let's see what worms in humans can cause. Nematodes cause ascariasis, abdominal pain and bloating, nausea, vomiting, malnutrition, intestinal obstruction, cough and wheezing, growth stunting in children, hookworm, itchy rash at entry site, anemia, fatigue, weakness, abdominal pain, protein deficiency, pinworm, intense anal itching, especially at night, sleep disturbances, mild abdominal discomfort, rarely appendicitis if the worms migrate, trichinosis, muscle pain and weakness, fever, swelling around the eyes, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, heart or brain inflammation, lymphatic flower. Oh my gosh. All right. I have to stop. This would go for probably another 10 minutes. It's a very, very, very long list of things that worms and parasites in your body will do to you. And I bet you go to a doctor 99 times out of 100, they won't even recognize it. They will look at the symptoms. All of those symptoms I looked at, they will give you a steroid or a cream or something that they can make you take every month for the rest of your life, rather than, hey, go buy $20 worth of ivermectin and take it for a week to kill your parasites. And then I'll never see you again with this symptom unless you somehow get worms again. That's why I don't trust the American. I do not trust the Western medicine. All right. You literally could have got this anywhere. I have to have a friend go down to Mexico and buy this for me. Yes, that's illegal. Come arrest me. I don't care, because I'd rather be healthy and rational than come take my ivermectin, feds. I should probably delete the stream. You ain't got to tell me about parasites living in Mexico about killed me. I had to go through 3 times of cleaning every out of my system and then reintroducing good bacteria into my system. I actually had typhoid fever one time when I lived in Mexico too. Dang. Anything else? There was so much more that I only read about a quarter of what was on there. So, yeah, because Mike, they do not cure you. They treat you only. That's right. It's practicing medicine because they never want to get it perfect. But yeah, I think everybody, if you can get your hands on ivermectin, even just like 1 round of ivermectin and just take it. I mean, I've seen studies that like 1 tablet will destroy certain parasites in your body. So it's like, do what you got to do, get rid of those, and you might just see some chronic problems you're having just disappear. Who knows? I'm not a medical doctor, thank God, because if I was, I would probably be like convinced by American Medical Association not to give my patients ivermectin for their anal itch. Let's give them some preparation H and some steroids for your anal itch. You got freaking worms in your butt. All right, take some dewormer. Anyways, that's a great way to end the stream. Thanks everybody for being here. God bless us, everyone. And we'll see y'all on the next exciting episode of Cross Examinations.